Hello and welcome back, everyone. I'm so pleased for those of you who are joining us back for part two of the spiritual warfare about our dreams coming true. What is our dream? It is my prayer that it has helped you this last couple weeks to encourage you to keep moving forward so that you feel like you can step out in this new year and accomplish what you're really hoping to do this year, and knowing that you're not doing it alone, that the Lord's with you and you have all the strength and courage you need to do it, because He'll never fail you. In this lesson, I was going to go back to the principles, set out the principles of success that are laid out in the Bible. Excuse me. Because they're there for us to be guided. God will guide us. He will bring people in our lives at certain times and at certain points that they can help us to achieve our dreams. They may only be there for a season, but they do come into your life and they will help you. God has everything orchestrated for you to be successful. The only key is do it His way. Kind of that's how He is. I've done some research this last couple of weeks on the subject about how God always says He's with us. And I know that God does have plans for each of us and that He will help us to achieve them. And I know in the Bible it always says that God is with you. He will guide you. He walks before you. But I've never really wondered, I never knew how many times in the Bible it says that. So when I researched, I found that He says it to us 62 times throughout the Bible. I mean, I could see maybe 15, 20. I thought that's kind of what it was. But if the Lord tells us in the Bible throughout the things of Scripture, I have a Bible right here. He's telling us in a Bible like this 62 times that He is with us to protect us and to have us be successful. So it shows me, and hopefully it's enlightening you to see that it is really God's desire for us to succeed at anything we do along His path of our life. He has a plan for us, like I said last week. All of us are born for a purpose. God has a plan for us. Does He make us do that plan? No. He is not a dictator. He wants to come in and help you if you ask Him to. He is a very gentleman. He is the type person that wants to be invited into your life and that wants Him to help you. Yes, He's God. He can make you do anything, but that's not what He wants. That's not true relationship. When somebody makes you do something, then they have something over you. God wants to be your friend, and He wants to help you achieve what you want to achieve. Just like us in a family. There's rules and regulations, and there's things that we do in a family for tradition. I mean, there's things that we have to do that just kind of carry on, and that's how God is. He has a plan, and He wants us to go the way He wants us to go. He's kind of the father. The father of the family kind of dictates what's going on to a point, and that's what God does. So, but He's not a mean God. He's there to help us. He's not doing things or saying stuff to us to make us unhappy. He's doing it because He knows what the end results are, and He's trying to hold you away from falling into the pitholes of life. And I'm sure any of you that's over 20 or 25, I'm sure you went your own way and found, boy, I wish I wouldn't have went that way. But God's trying to protect you from that. But a lot of us, if you're like me, I was very strong-minded. And if somebody told me not to do something, if I didn't have a good enough answer or didn't give me a valid reason why, I would do it anyway. Because I thought, you're not going to tell me not to do something, you don't even have a reason why not to do it. When I started reading the Bible, that's why I was so intrigued with it, because the Lord, when I started reading the Bible, there were so many questions I had about life that were answered just by reading the Bible. I mean, it amazed me. But I'm getting off track. I have notes here, and I still get off track. Last week, we spoke about Joshua when he was called to take the place of Moses to take the people into the promised land. He needed all the encouragement he could possibly have gotten, and God knew that he needed encouragement to step in to take over Moses. Moses delivered the people out of Egypt and was with them for over 40 years in the wilderness. So he was having to feel a lot of responsibility, and Joshua just didn't, I'm sure, feel that he was capable of doing it. And God knew it too. And that's why in Deuteronomy, Moses said to Joshua before he died, he told him, he goes, the Lord, He is the one who will go before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you, nor will he forsake you. Do not fear or be worried and scared. The word here is dismayed, but it means worried or scared. God's going to go with you, Joshua. So just do what he tells you to do. He'll tell you how to get there, and he'll protect you, and you will accomplish what you wanted to do. All of us need to have support and encouragement. If not daily, at least along the path in a week, we need to hear something encouraging to us, to know that what we're trying to do is attainable, and that we can see our dream come to pass. Encouragement is very important. And it's something I believe in our society that we don't really get anymore from people. People are not very forthright with encouraging people or giving accolades to people. Real quick on what you shouldn't do or how you shouldn't do it, or if you're wrong in something. But to come up alongside of you and work alongside with you and help you to achieve something, no. That's kind of a lost thing in our society. And that's why with God, it's so important. You've got the God of the universe who made this earth, and he can do anything, and he's willing to help you. You think, well, who am I? That's how I feel. Who am I that God would take time for me? But he does. It's so hard to imagine what I'm trying to say to you if you've never known the Lord or Christianity. But it's so true, and it takes time to get it to this spot in life like I am, because I went through so much turmoil, and God was so faithful to me for so many years that now nobody could tell me that there's not a God. Nobody. And I can see now why the apostles all died a martyr's death, because they would not deny Christ, because they knew what he really did. And that's what hopefully we'll all get to that point before we pass on to the next slide. I'm getting off track, I'm sorry. David in the book of Psalms wrote about the contrast between a righteous lifestyle and the lifestyle of the wicked, and the consequences of both. And the first few verses of one of the Psalms, it's actually the first Psalm in the book of Psalms, and it's verses 1-3. And what it says is, blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the path of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that springs forth its fruit in due season, and whatever he does shall prosper. That's the verse those are 3 verses are what's going to be at the remainder of this study, because they are so impactful and they're giving us this, I'm going to call them the 9 steps to success, because through them, it's life, how you will succeed in relationships, in anything in life. It's a carte blanche statement. I mean, because God's success encompasses everything. It's not just monetary. So, and we're going to get into that. These 3 verses I memorized 25 years ago. So I was about 50 years old. I was going through my 5th divorce. You would think at 50 I would have learned, but no, I didn't. But anyway, so there's no excuses for someone to say, well, I'm too old. No, we're never too old to learn, and we're never too old for God to come in and intervene in our life. Because I can tell you, from 50 to 70, I'm 74 now, God restored so much to me that I had lost from 20 to 50. That's 30 years. And I know that these verses were very helpful for me at that point in time, because I knew, even though I didn't really understand in depth, like I'm going to go in with you here today, I just knew instinctively inside of me that these verses were the key for me to either get up and keep moving forward or quit, because that's where I was. I was so tired of starting and falling and starting and falling. I mean, 5 divorces. I mean, picture just anybody that's went through just one divorce or a major breakup, the emotional toll, and let alone the financial loss that you go through. I mean, it's just like you're constantly starting over. And at 50, I really had to start over outside of the fact that I did have a house and it was sold and I did get some income. But the toll of everything else in my life, it was a lot. And I did not feel that I was ready to keep moving on. And these verses were the key to getting me off. And I'm hoping that if it just helps one person that listening to this, that you will have the courage and the knowing that you're not in this world alone, that God is with you and He's going to help you do whatever you need to do. I am not one to quit, or to give up when things get hard. And I truly believe that God put that DNA in me. And that's why when I read these verses, they were so impactful to me, because I'm not a quitter. Although it might sound like I was, because I've been married 5 times, but trust me, there's a lot more about divorces than just somebody saying they're getting a divorce. Both have to be in the relationship, not just one. That's another Bible study. I've had many people over the years ask me, Terry, why do you just keep trying? Why do you just keep, they would have given up years ago probably. And I didn't really know what to say at the time, except that I wasn't going to let the people that were trying to destroy me. Because that was the tenacity that God put in me. I didn't know it at the time, but it was kind of like, well, you think I need you? Watch me. Like that island thing, like, I can do anything. I don't need you. But that mindset is what kept me going, because I wasn't going to let them win. That's how I look at it. Little did I know. It was the enemy using them to try to destroy me. It wasn't them per se, but the enemy used them to destroy me. And that took years to figure that one out. Like I said, from 50 to 70, I learned a lot. I would study and keep saying these verses over to myself many years, knowing that they were the path to my success. And like I do, we're going to call them the 9 steps of healing, of success and healing, because healing comes along with success. And you have to be healed of all your hurts and damage to become successful. You can't go and be successful in one area of your life and not be successful in your relationships or in other things in your life. It's a package deal. And it's something that is not really taught. There's thousands of books out about how to become successful, how to win through intimidation. That's what I used to do prior to learning this. Walk in and be very confident. Even though you may not really know what you're talking about, but you're confident, so people think you know what you're talking about. There's a lot of detours and little things that you can do in life to have people on the outside looking in think that you're all together, but you're really not. And you know it, and so does God. So anyway, let's go back to this. I'm going to go try to do this in a very simple way here. Like I said, like I always say, the last page this time, there's only 3 verses. There's only 3 scriptures this week. But I have them that you can print them out you can print them, because at the end of this video, you will be able to stop it and you can scan it and you can take a picture. So the first step in becoming successful and to becoming healed, it's like it says, blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly. That's pretty self-explanatory in and of itself. But what it's saying there is, don't go to somebody that doesn't have moral values or have good character, or somebody that's been successful in something that they've done for a period of time, that they may be a good mother, they might be a good dad, whatever qualities that you're looking at somebody that you want to go to get information and have somebody advise you, go to somebody that isn't ungodly. Because if you go to the wrong people, you're going to get the wrong advice. So you're going to just start on the tour. You're going to start out on your road to success, and you're not going to make it, because you might for a while. But there are principles. These are principles that we're going to be going through in the Bible of how to become successful. And does it work? You bet. And as I was putting this together, trying to equate it with something, I want to equate it with a baby. When we get married and we have a child, The child doesn't come out knowing everything, knowing how to walk, knowing how to eat, knowing how to go to the bathroom by itself, knowing how to get dressed, where to go, what he wants. A baby is born, he can't do nothing. And that's kind of how we are when we become a Christian. It doesn't matter if you're 10 years old, 20 years old, 50 years old. You're starting out in a new realm of life and you don't really know anything. So you have to learn. And that's the same thing with success. You have to learn how to become successful. It's not like, oh, wake up one morning and say, you know what? I want to be a successful carpenter. And you just go out, buy some wood and hammer and some nails and go out and try to build something. How far are you going to get? I want to be a nurse. So you go buy the uniform, you go buy the stuff, and you do the things you can do. And then you get a patient, and what are you going to do when you don't know how to do anything? You don't even know how to administer a shot. So everything is a learned process. And that is something that our society is why it's so haywire anymore, because everybody thinks you can just instantaneously attain what it is you're wanting. Put in, read a book, take a test, and you think you've got it mastered. You don't. And if you really look at your life, even, I mean, why do we go to school from kindergarten to 12th grade? Because we grow in increments, like language skills are between 2, 3, and 4. You can teach a baby between the ages of 3 and 4 5 languages at the same time, and they'll be able to do it. It would take an adult forever, the rest of their life, and they still couldn't master 5 languages, because our mind develops in certain ways. And the older we get, the more knowledge we have, and the more we can start seeing the growing points or the steps up, because it's like a ladder. Each thing builds upon the next thing. Anyway, the second step is, I have to read my notes, I wrote this down, nor stand in the path of sinners. So you don't hang around and walk with people that you know are living a lifestyle that's really not pleasing to growth of success. And you have to break away. You're going to have to break away. A lot of people, when they want to be successful, they have to be around other people. They have to get in a new group of friends. Not that you have to get rid of all your friends, I'm not saying that. But there's a lot of people that are going to be in your life that are bad influences for you. And you need to find good influences and not be around people that are sinning all the time. If you want success, you have to kind of clean up your life, because that's kind of how it is. I mean, I look at it like, I don't know, I don't like to pigeonhole people but just for an analogy, let's say that you have a substance abuse and you hang around people that have a lot of substance abuse. How are you ever going to be able to become successful if you stay where you are and you be around the people that you want to be around, but yet you want to get up and move on? In the Bible, they call it, don't put old wine or new wine in an old wineskin. And what that reference is, wineskins back in the biblical days were made out of leather. And when they were new, it would hold the wine fine, because the leather is pliable and it can hold liquid. But if it gets old and dries out, and you go to a winery or a vat where there's new wine and they put the new wine in the old wine skins, it will leak and bust and break. That's kind of how, when we're going to be successful, we have to have a new path of what we're going to and goals. And a lot of times that means having to release some things to be able to, there's no room. If you have everything is taken in your life, how are you going to be able to move out? Where are you going to have the space and time to be able to do what you need to do if you're still in the same pattern that you've been in? You have to break away from that pattern. The third one, it says, nor sit in the seat of the scornful. So that means you don't walk and talk and eat with people that you know are deceitful, that are vengeful, that try to get back at people that do something to them, that continuously denigrate other people and other things and rules and regulations and governments. And Lord knows we see that every day in the news. But that isn't the way that you become successful. You have to learn to get along with people. You have to learn not to be judgmental And these are all hard things to do. I know when I was younger, I was so judgmental and I was so arrogant and I was so selfish. Oh my goodness. Over the years, God tamed me down a lot, but it took years for me to even realize, oh, I'm not a very good person. And God reveals it to us not in a quick, like, oh, look how bad you are. That's not how he does it. But he starts changing your heart. And in your heart, you start to realize, I am pretty selfish. I know that's happened to me. I one day I was reading the Bible and I really realized how selfish I was. And I didn't like that. I didn't like it at all, actually. And then over the next course of time, I start realizing when I was selfish. It would come up, and but the Holy Spirit convicted me of it. So I began to be very aware of how selfish I was, and I didn't like it because God was changing me, and that's how He changes us. He doesn't just come in and zap us like, you're not going to be selfish anymore." It takes time, and you have to work through, why am I so selfish? There's reasons why people are selfish. There's reasons why people are isolated. There's reasons for reasons why people are very outward and very funny, and that a lot of it is to cover up their insecurities. But we only see the one side of it. We don't really look at the other side because both sides have good and bad. And we have to realize what's in me that's not right. And God wants to heal that in you so that you can become successful. How could you ever be successful, a large success person, if you're thinking you're better than other people? Or if you think you're better than a certain culture, or you think because you drive a certain car and somebody else doesn't, that you're better than them. Where do we come up with those analogies like that? We're all human. We all have the same basic needs. And God wants us to realize that and not be, like we're talking, scornful. Not be a person that thinks that, oh, well, look at them. Well, can you believe what they do? I would never. Oh, my goodness. I wish I could tell you how many times I said, oh, I would never do this, or that. Well, let me tell you, I learned through my life. Anything I said I would never do, you don't know what you'll do under certain circumstances that happen to you. When something happens to you that just totally throws the rug out from underneath you, and you are just like, where you don't know what you're capable of. So for somebody to say, can you believe what they did? I would never. Watch out. Because even in the Bible it says, pride comes before the fall. And God will humble you. Trust me, He did me more than once. And then the fourth one is, but His delight. See, the first three we hear about, don't do this, don't do that, and don't do this. Now we're in the fourth one. It says, but your delight is in the law of the Lord. And what is the law of the Lord? That means you start reading the Bible. The law, usually when it says, it's the 10 Commandments. We do not live by the 10 Commandments in 2026. But they are still a standard by which we can judge how we are. You have to have something to judge by of what's right. What's the proper way to live? The 10 Commandments is a perfect example of how God would love for us to be. The first 5 or the first 4 are totally about how we treat God, and the other ones are how we treat each other. And how we treat each other is very important to God. And it is tied extremely a lot to our level of success. How we treat people and the level of our success, I would say, go hand in hand. You don't hear that very often. But trust me, that's real success. And that's when you will be able to, there's how many people, like Elon Musk, Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, all the hospitals that are built wings on his donations. Paul Newman, they're called philanthropists, I don't say that word very well, that give to good causes with all their money because they care about people. And the more you care about people, the more God will bless you. If you're trying to be successful so that you can hoard it all to yourself and ridicule people that aren't as successful as you, You might be successful for a while, but eventually you will vanish, because that is not the way that God works. And it's not a principle of the world either. The story, you reap what you sow, we've all heard that saying. It's the true saying. So the law is a lot to read the Bible and start to learn who God is and what his pattern is for living. The fifth one is what you learn. Well, I'm sorry, let me go back here. The fifth one is, in his law, he meditates day and night. What you learn, you meditate, which a lot of people think it's a Mideastern New Age thing. Meditation started many, many years ago before that. But what it means is, when you read something and you're learning something, meditating on it means you run it through your mind over and over again, trying to understand what is it saying. And it gets into your thinking, into that rut that's in your mind. My first study ever about, you have to change the way of your thinking, because we've programmed ourselves to think a certain way when certain things happen. God wants us to take every thought captive, and he wants us to bring it to his obedience, and to lose the bad things, the way that we have our preconceived ideas of how we're supposed to operate, get rid of that old way of thinking and come into a new way of thinking. And the way that we do that is by reading the Bible and meditating. Just like I said, years ago, this verse, when I was 50, I didn't really understand it, but yet there was something in me that knew that this verse was a key to success. And it's because I meditate on it, and I would reread it and reread it, because I wanted to understand it. That's how we learn. And that is something that I think our society as a whole has really just disregarded, because they think you can just read. Like, I know people read an article, if it's a 10-minute read, they'll read maybe the first 4 or 5 sentences and they stop reading it. They think they already know what's going to be for the rest of the 10-minute reading. And they don't know anything. They just get caught by the catchy headline, the first couple 3 sentences. And they'd have no idea where that article was going to go. We need to really understand and learn, because success is a journey and it's a process, as you're going to see here in a few minutes. Nothing comes instantaneously or within 6, 7, 8 months. Sometimes it takes years for success to come. Billy Crystal, I've heard said it before. People said, oh, he's an overnight success. He goes, yeah, 25-year overnight success. It took him 25 years to become an overnight success. Because people only see the success. They don't see all the hard work and the labor that it took to get to the point where you could become successful. And then the sixth one is, and you have to learn how to apply it to your life and your situation. When you're meditating on something and you're learning it, think about, where are you? You have to become really honest with yourself. Where do I stand in that pattern of living? Do I meditate on things? Do I try to understand what I'm reading? Do you, or do you just read it and move on and go to the next sentence? Each thing that we read and learn, we have to understand it, especially the Word of God. God he breathed these words. Whoever wrote the Bible through the different books, there's 66 books in the Bible. This is inspired by God, and they wrote what God told them to write through their spirit. So it's very important what he's writing here. He's not just flippantly writing a sentence, learn and meditate and apply it to your life. No, he's really telling you it's a reason how to do it, like it says. But his delight is in the law of the Lord. And you have to understand, what's that mean? His delight is in the law of the Lord. If you just read it, it doesn't make sense. But what it is, he's trying to tell you, the 10 Commandments are the law of the Lord back in the day when this was written. But the principles are still today. You reap what you sow. If you do bad to people, bad's going to happen to you. If you're good to people, good's going to happen to you. It's just a principle of life. It's just like gravity. You may not see it, but if you're on a tall building and you jump off, you are going to fall and die. It's not, well, I don't see it. I don't believe in gravity. Oh, really? It's going to happen. There's just certain things in life. Okay, I'm getting off track again. And then the sixth one is, gotta find my verse here. And trust me, I've got notes in front of me here and I'm still looking. Okay, the sixth one is, where's the verse? Oh, come on, Terry. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. What an analogy God gave us. A tree. We know what a little tree looks like when you first plant it. It's scrawny. It doesn't have very many leaves on it, but it needs water to survive. And it has to be in good soil. So God telling us that if you meditate on his word and you start putting it into your life, you will be like a tree that was planted by the water. And if you read into the Bible more, and I've learned over the years, and you will too, that Jesus is the living water. And there was a woman at the well in the book of John, it's John 4, I believe. And Jesus was there waiting for her. And he asked her for a drink of water. And she kind of looked at him. She goes, well, you're a Jew and I'm a Samaritan. Why are you asking me for a drink of water? You don't even have a cup to get some water in. And he goes, if you knew who I was, you would be asking me for a drink because you will never thirst again if you drink the water that I'm going to give you. And he wasn't literally talking about water like this. That's something I could take a drink. Sorry. He was talking about spiritual water inside of us. We would be able to grow spiritually and we would never thirst because we would understand the principles of what's making us go on and do the things we do. It's very deep. We live in a very spiritual world. That's why this is always series is called, or the titles of it's always spiritual warfare, because we live in a physical world, but we operate in a very spiritual realm of life. We may not see it, just like gravity. You don't see the wind. You don't see a lot of things, but we live on this earth in a physical way, but we operate in the spiritual realm. And the enemy is always there to destroy you. God's always there to try to help you. And the enemy usually seems to be winning when we look at society as a whole. But he really isn't, because God's in ultimate control and God wins. I know the entire Bible and God wins the battle, not Satan. And Satan knows it. That's why he's on the rampage anymore. His time is coming close to being ended. So Jesus is the living water, and that's what God's trying to tell us. You're going to be a tree planted by water. And then the eighth or the seventh step is you will bear fruit and success in season. It takes time for fruit to grow on a fruit tree. If you plant a lemon tree, it is not going to have lemons within 2 or 3 weeks. It's going to have to go through a whole cycle before it has a blossom. And then at the end of the blossom, there will be a fruit. And the fruit is probably smaller than the end of this pin. It's a tiny little round green ball that comes out of the little blossom of the lemon tree. And that's kind of like us. God's given us a picture of time. You're going to be a tree planted by water, and then in due season, it says he'll bring forth its fruit in due season. It takes time for fruit to develop, just like God. He wants us to be successful. But for him to let us find the way to success, it takes time. And as that time goes by, we're changing. Our mind is growing. We become a different person, and our success, we grow into the success God's going to give us. It's amazing how it works. And then the ninth, it says, the eighth one is in due season, in time. Your life will not go unnoticed. Your dream will come to pass, and God has to prepare you for your success like David did before he was king. David was he was anointed king when he was like 17 years old. He was a shepherd boy. His mom and dad his dad didn't even have him come in when Samuel came to anoint the next king. He goes, are these the only sons you had? He goes, well, I have one more, but he's not a son. He's just young. He's little. He's not king material. He was the one that God chose to be the king. And then he ran for his life for 10 years or more. The king that he was supposed to replace was out to kill him because he was jealous of him. So David had to learn how to become a king. God anointed him at a young age, and it took him until he got older to become even a king. He had to know how to rule a nation. A 15, 16, 17-year-old kid does not know how to rule a nation. So God, once he calls you to do something, there's a great learning curve there for us all. And if you stick with it, you will become very successful. And then the ninth step and the last step is, and whatever he does shall prosper. So if you take all these steps, and they're all written out in the last sheet, whatever you're working for will come to pass, and you will enjoy your success and prosperity. Now, that is the key to success. I know it might sound taunting to you, but it really isn't. It's just a period of time that you get to reevaluate yourself. What is it in life you really want? Are you willing to work for it? Because God will do his part. Always, God will do his part. But we have a part in it too. It's just we don't sit back and go, well, God said he'll do it. Yeah, God said he'll do it, but you have to move your feet and you have to do the work. And he'll do it. He'll open the doors. He'll put the right people in your path. But what good is success if you didn't work for it? It's like your children. You appreciate things a whole lot more when you work for them than you do when it's just given to you. You take it for granted and you don't even realize how hard it was for somebody else to work to give it to you. God knows that. God knows the human heart more than anybody in the world. He knows the human heart. It took a long time for me to read all these and to see any proof that I was moving towards my success. It did take a long time, but it finally did find me. And these videos here and the things that in ministry of the Lord's opened doors for me are the fruit of that tree in me that God planted that helped other people through all that heartache and hurt that I went through, the setbacks. There was so much I went through over 20 years. But it taught me so much that I can sit here and talk to you and know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it works. I came to realize that it was the enemy's plan using all those people that were trying to destroy me because he knew the Lord had a plan for me. Even though I didn't realize the Lord had a plan for me, nor was I aware of spiritual warfare. I just thought that I was just a loser, that I kept getting married and unmarried, and what a loser society. You tell anybody someone's been married 5 times, you know what they're going to say about you. You're a loser. That's just like when someone says he's an alcoholic or he's a gambler. We automatically in our mind come up with a picture of what that person is, and it's usually they're a loser. Because that's what the end result is. Think about the progression that got him to that point. We just think a gambler, married 5 times, no responsibility, a quitter. We just come up with all these flippant things that we think that aren't even true. But that's how society is, and that's how we're geared to be. And I'm better than that. I would never do that. Pride. Pride is the downfall of everything. Success as we know it is not the same success as God does. Many successes in life do not, please hear what I say. Success in life does not revolve around your portfolio or your zip code. That does not mean that you're a successful person. In the eyes of the world, yes, it does. But there's many people that just live a regular life and they are more successful than Elon Musk. And they have peace and they're good people. And not to say he's not, because I think Elon Musk is, I'm just saying somebody that everybody can think of as a multi-millionaire. So anyway, God's definition is geared more toward the heart's motive and your character. And that's something that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes when you really know who you are and you know you don't fit the bill. Like especially when you start reading like these steps, because you have to put yourself into where am I on that? Like when God says in the Old Testament, thou shalt not kill. Kill doesn't necessarily mean you kill somebody. There's a way you can kill people with your words. You can hurt somebody so much with your mouth and your words, and once they're said, never gonna take them back. There's lies. Honor your mother and father. Do you honor your mother and father? No matter how bad they are. You don't have to respect them, but you should honor them that they're your mother and father, just like you should honor who the president is. Doesn't matter if you disagree with him or you agree. He holds the highest office. There's honor in teachers. You may not like your teacher, but she is the one in the classroom that's the head of the classroom. There's an order, and you have to respect that order. You may not like the people, you may not like what they stand for, but you have to learn to be successful, that there is a hierarchy, and you have to learn to accept that and just respect it. You don't have to like them. Nowhere does it say you have to like people, but it does say to treat them properly and to respect them. And if they're a lifestyle that you don't like, then you don't be around them all the time. That's how you can get away from it. You don't have to be with somebody you don't like or you don't respect, but you have to honor the people that are ahead of you, because that's just how it is. Just like a police officer. You may not like police officers, but in times of need and someone's trying to kill you and you don't have a gun, you can run to the police and they'll help protect you, because that's their job. And you have to respect the job they do, even though you may not respect what it is. You can look in our society, not very many people respect authority at all anymore. And that's really sad. That's what you call anarchy. And that's really sad. When you can learn to look past your own self-interest, your selfishness, and see the need of somebody around you or those around you, and help them, even though you know there's no way they can repay you for what you're doing for them. That is when you are successful. That's when you know that you're on the road to success, when you can look past your own interests and help people around you that are in need. That's when you get God's attention really fast. When he can see you put aside something that you want for the help of somebody else, oh my goodness, catapults you to the next level. Success is something that you share. Your motive moves from selfishness to seeing what joy and good you can bring to somebody else who is unable or incapable to give it back to you. I'm sorry. It's a principle in the Bible. And in Luke, Jesus said in Luke 6:38, give and it will be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be put into your lap. For by the same measure that you use, it will be measured back to you. I don't know if you ever heard the saying that you can't outgive God. You can't. When you think that you're giving up your biggest supply of something, God will replace it. I could do Bible study after Bible study on how God gives back tenfold what you give. God's kingdom is actually opposite of our world system. We operate on believing that we are better than others because of our financial success, or we become full of pride, looking down on others and making comments that are unfounded towards them. Somewhere along the way in our life, in our world of success, greed takes hold of so many, always wanting more and more and being unable to ever be satisfied. It's like someone, I want to make $500,000 a year. Then I want $1 million. Then I want $1.5 million. It just goes on, because you never can satisfy greed, ever. You always want more. They destroy their relationships by disrespecting other people as fellow workers or friends because they're more successful than they are. This is at the point where the enemy can come in, and the pride of the person that God helps, takes over their heart. And the very principles and all their hard work that they got to get to where they are begins to fade away. And the blessings from God begin to be that they did it on their own, and God is totally left out of the equation. And he does not get any glory for what you've done. Does he smite you and make you not be successful anymore? No. But boy, you're on the wrong track. God sees everything. And that's the reason some continue to succeed and others seem to vanish. You ever heard of somebody that was so popular and all of a sudden you never hear them anymore? That's pretty much the reason why. I can give you a lot of Bible studies on that too. Jesus in the book of Matthew was foretelling what was going to take place when he came back a second time to judge the world. It's a long read, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing because I'm running out of time. I've been already talking too much. But I'm going to use a few verses, and I know that you'll see the contrast through it. It won't need a lot of explanation. In the verses are in Matthew 25:31, Matthew 25 verses 31 through 46. But in verse 35 to 40, I'm going to read. For when I was hungry, and you gave me food, when I was thirsty, you gave me a drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer him, the people that were listening to him, that were successful people, righteous people. Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you a drink? Verse 38, when did we see you as a stranger and take you in, or naked and we tried to clothe you? And in verse 40, Jesus replied, inasmuch as you did it for one of the least of these people, you did it unto me. To me, that's a very sobering statement. I love it. I think everybody in the Bible should have it highlighted in bright yellow, because when we help somebody that's unable to help themselves, or help somebody along the way with success, or give somebody $100 or $200, or buy a tire for somebody when you see their tires on their car broken, you know they don't have the money. I mean, there's so many ways that we can help people, and that's success. When you can make somebody's day and their boat, they're a little lighter, that's what God wants you to be successful for. He wants you to be able to pay other people's bills, buy other people cars, houses. That's what success is all about. Build ministries, help people. What people do you know that are multi-millionaires that don't give to needy causes? Make-A-Wish Foundation, the St. Jude hospitals that are built on wings of hospital, like what Annie Thomas did. Elvis Presley would go be on a car lot, somebody be looking at a car and they liked it, he would go and pay for it and tell the salesman to go give him the keys to the car. I mean, what would you do if somebody did something like that for you? And it's not even no problem. Elvis Presley had tons of money. He didn't even probably notice the money was gone. But that's why God lets you be successful financially, when you're able to help other people and quit thinking just of yourself and what you can attain. Instead of going out and buying $25 million houses, how about just having one or two and buy somebody a $250,000 house? You know how many houses you could buy for $15 million for people? I mean, that's where God wants our heart and our minds to be. And through these steps, that is how you get healed and you're able to be more successful. And the more you give, the more you do, God's going to give you more back. When the Lord sees your heart and knows your compassion for people is not based on status or lack of, he is very, very pleased. And his principles of success in giving to us so that we can in return give to others, it will just keep growing towards us. And another thing I want to say before we close here, you always talk about the downtrodden. I want to talk about somebody that's very successful. There's a lot of successful people that are very, very lonely, because the only reason people are around them is because they paid for their money. They pay for their dinners, they have parties, and they're the who's who in society. But they're very lonely, when in fact they have the same needs of wanting to be loved, be included, be appreciated, and they enjoy simple little acts of kindness, like bringing a cup of coffee to the office for them, knowing what kind they like, or bringing a donut, or just sending a box of candy that you know they like. You know, something so immaterial and little. Yeah, they're multimillionaires maybe, but it doesn't matter. There's still innate things in people that everybody wants to feel appreciated. And it doesn't matter how much money he has. A rich man that has everything and you bring him anything, You know, he might be driving around a Rolls Royce and you could bring him a keychain from a vacation you went on. It's the thought that you even thought of him and you brought him something. He would probably cherish that keychain more than the Rolls Royce because he bought the Rolls Royce for himself, but no one ever bought him anything to put in it. You know, people don't realize everybody's the same. You might be a pitiful, successful person, a multimillionaire. God owns everything. The streets of gold, the streets in heaven are paved in gold. Gold's at over $4,000 an ounce. So you think money is a problem with God? He owns it all. We all could be multimillionaires. And the reason we're not is because he knows what we would do with the money and it would ruin us. Oh well, I'm going to let this go now. I'm going to close out on this. I've gotten off track a few times here. I got on my bed and my soapbox there for a minute. Hopefully this lesson has given you some steps in being able to achieve your dreams this coming year. And I pray that when you are climbing the ladder of success, that you remember some of the stories that we've talked about here and how success is tied to how you use it and the impact that you can have on somebody less fortunate than you or even more fortunate than you. It's your heart motives, and God really, really very keen in watching what your motives in your heart is, because he's the only one outside of yourself that knows what your heart motive is. He knows. You can't fool God. You can fool other people. You can give like, oh, I'm going to do this because I'm going to make good points with God. But God knows your heart, and if that's the reason why you're doing it, don't do it because he's going to know it's for a wrong motive. You have to truly want to do it to help other people, and you will be such a happier and better person for it all. I know this might have been a little strong, this lesson here, but I really felt led to say it and talk about it like that because God is with you. And like it says here, this one's not on my page, but at the end when I sat down here to do this today, this came to mind. It's Isaiah 41:10. And it says, fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Behold, all those who were incensed against you shall be ashamed and be disgraced, and they shall be as nothing, and those who strive with you shall perish. Those who have destroyed you, you won't even have to deal with them anymore. God will take care of them. So I'm going to leave on this note. I hope that this was encouraging to you and it made you food for thought on how you want to succeed in life. Are you doing success for just money, or are you doing it because you really have a desire to help people when you do become successful? Because that's the key of your success. God bless, and we'll see you the next time.